traditional approach was this, how the customer used to explain it, how the various team beyond that who was interacting with customer used to understand it, how engineer who is sitting far way back in our offices used to design it, or and it is a basically architecture, how is going to support the underlying platform that engineer used to design, what we call as architects, and how the programmer wrote it, and how the finally how sales executive described it.
Sorry, go
Okay.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is what how the customer explained. The sales guy wanted to showcase it, and this was how the project was documented. There was no documentation at all. How it was installed, how the customer was built, how the helper supported, and what the customer really want was this. So you
Yeah,
can see that.
yeah,
You can
sorry,
see.
let me add if I can.
Yeah.
So I think important to see from left to right, the first to last picture, right? This is how actually the industry works. If you see typically, what you aspire is a swing, which is really on a tree and a well cushioned position. What you actually get is a floating tire. Now, this was an actual traditional problem of traditional project management because you were not there to actually tell your implementation team or a development team that what do you actually aspire, right? So from stage one to stage two to stage three, you see there is a potential incremental growth that is happening, but you don't know actually if that growth is going to get consistent or not, right? So at every stage, you go and test with your development team and say, okay, this is what I wanted. Is this end? And you won't get the full product, right? You'll not get the whole swing on day one. What you will get is maybe two ropes and maybe one slate. That's all, right? And just connecting to same corollary. And therefore, just tying it to the definition of what Anuj talked about on the previous page, right? It's an iterative, which is repeated manner of development where you every time come back and look at your product, you inspect it, you look at it, and then you adapt that this is exactly what I wanted or this is not what I wanted. And then you give a feedback to your development team, this is not I wanted, and you make a change. Now, if you do in traditional, I would have gone to all the state 8 steps, and therefore the amount of effort to make a change is about redoing all minus 8 effects. However, if you have only gone to in agile to only stage 2, the amount of effort is much more lesser, which is only you have to revert the changes from 2 to 1. And therefore, agile is much more better in that sense to deliver shorter incremental value to their customers on a very fast paced manner. So I don't have to wait for, if every cycle, let's say in this picture is 1 month, don't have to wait for 10 months to see my actual product. Maybe just after 4 weeks, I can, or 3 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever is your sprint cycle is, I can see my first iterative product. And that is all about agile. Does that resonate? Do you think this makes sense? You have any questions here?
Hello, sir. Abhay here.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. In the image, what I also can get it is initially the customer explained it something differently, and throughout the process of the during the development, we also get the view, and we are able to align to his needs using the principles and
Correct.
the iterative models which we can come up. So, am I correct on this understanding?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. You connect with your actual as a customer and as
Business.
a development team, connect on a regular basis to learn and adapt, and then actually test your product to make sure it is heading into right direction.
Okay.
See, take it from the fact that you guys are studying, you are inspecting and adapting what you need to change on what paper. You have your kind of assessment, then you need to know what focus is required. So that is again an inspect and adapt situation for oneself, where he has to put more focus, where he has to put more energy in channelizing and improving those assessment results. So that is all inspect and adapt. That agility we all have inbuilt in ourselves. So this is one formation of how the project used to happen in traditional waterfall. So it's not that waterfall is something which was bad. It was that it was the need and requirement of that time. Now the world has changed. Things are going very rapid. Everybody wants things to happen right now. Take an example. If you all are in this pandemic situation, also you all have your data or your Airtel Wi-Fi or some Wi-Fi goes down. You will be telling and pushing them back. Nobody wants a BSNL connection where you are logging a complaint and somebody visiting you after 10 days or 15 days. You want that resolution to happen today or then on there. So that is where your customer experience is. For you or for your service provider, that is a customer experience you want. And that is their inspect and wrap, how they are able to resolve or reduce that time of helping their customer. So if you are not happy, that service provider will have a bad score of CSAT or customer experience or whatever. You would probably, you have various options available in the market to move your service provider from one to other if there is no service. So same way that customer engagement is happening. So put yourself in the customer engagement shoe. You want that everything has to be resolved then and there. Are you going to wait for 10 days for your connection to get up and see, okay, will you able to survive nowadays without a proper broadband, or if your network goes out? No, nobody wants. So that way organization have moved. Why BSNL is or any of the state provider is down in bankruptcy or going the way that line? Because various service provider are able to enhance your customer experience. So that is their agility on inspect and adapt. What they have seen their rival fail in providing those user experience. So think and resonate from those areas. If I was doing a project, or me or Ravish was doing a project, and Ravish got those documentation and share it across to the teams, and say, okay, we have to build somewhere in this form, and there is no customer engagement, and Ravish is only my sole point of contact, and he has any gaps, this is what we are going to build. But when we are moving to a software or to moving to an agile or to any of the practices that agile promotes, we have an early connect with our stakeholder. We have an early connected to our business partner. They are part of our ceremonies. We are showing them, as you saw in that video, and we'll go forward as we move ahead in next chapters, that the 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 idea is that you are showing them a working software. Nobody is waiting for 6 months and showing. So as and when you are building, you are showcasing and you are presenting. So if there is any course correction need to be done, you are doing it. So
Sir,
yeah.
just a point. I just wanted to make a point. First of all, I found it really humorous, yet very real. The how the project was documented part. It was actually uh, very close to reality in true sense. I felt it personally, so on my part. But the second thing, which is, I don't know whether this question fits in our basic understanding of agile as of now or not, but didn't we have any sort of communication with the customers during during each stages of waterfall? Like if I assume there were 8 stages in waterfall, right?
Mhm.
So we didn't have any point of contact in between with the customers. Is that we are trying to get it here right now, or shall I
What?
need to learn more in order to understand the
Yeah.
difference between
No, no,
communication?
Manish, I think it's a good question. Answer is yes, you do have. Important question is how do you have, right? So yeah, I can give you my work done in a 800-page document, and you will actually never had a chance to read it. Or I can actually show a working product, and then you can react and give your comments in a 5 minutes meeting, right? So that is what Agile promotes. So if you remember the video, right, which is more customer interact than processes, tools, and presence, right? That is all about having customer presence and giving the feedback, right? Working software versus documentation. I show you a real working product instead of I telling you a 50-page memo where it says here are the set of features here that has been built here. Because whatever has been told on paper may look fancy, may look to be working, but what is working is an actual feedback thing, and that is where the problem lies.
Okay, thank you. Got it. Got it. Thanks.
So if we try to put it across what we have seen in the previous slide, this was how the each stage used to be in waterfall or life cycle. So you get what when we started our career, and it was like traditional waterfall. So that was the need of that hour. So we can't say that something which has happened as fast as something which was not useful. Yes, there are few projects that still go into traditional waterfall also. But that time what used to happen was we were giving a big huge documents, or what we called as BDD, or feature documents, or business BRDs and DRDs, design review document, business review documents. And we used to, and that was a big bunch of requirement documents that we used to go through. And based on those understanding, the design used to happen, implementation and the build was happening. So that way, that gap itself was pretty huge, pretty big. because somebody might be on the offshore or maybe on the on-site, documented that with customer, he shared across to your team, and then the team is documenting or building based on those requirements. So there was very less or very least interaction with customer. The customer was not involved as what Ravish and what we talked earlier, on to day to basis or maybe into 10 days or into a 15 days cycle when we are building and showcasing them. So that was the upfront challenge in what waterfall was. So you have to give a sign off on each and every stage you move on. Right now, when you resonate it with Agile, you have sprint reviews. Your customer is there, you could showcase him, anything change, let's document it, move to our next sprint. We'll try to modify and append it. So there was big analysis and design used to happen. We used to work it out, okay. So things were not built or there were challenges scaling them. Right now, infrastructure or building an application is not a challenge because we have various cloud practices in place where you have an idea, you can scale it. And when I talk about scale is the number of users using that on a on a on a vast basis. Like if somebody an application I have to build and I want to make sure it is available pan India, it is a scaling where you are a lot of people logging into the same time. So that was also another gap in it, there the applications were built, but it was very much because what you have done is that you have put across, you have built an application keeping in mind that this will be my set of principals users. So there was very limited scope in scaling those applications that used to build. And what used to happen is like testing or verification what we do. So when it passed from requirement to design to build, it goes to testing. And when testing is going, what developer is doing, there's nothing that he can work because he has already delivered and waiting. He's waiting for somebody to log some bug and then fix it out, and then he try to fix it out. Here what happens in Agile is that you are trying to build, verify, build, design, build, verify, test in the same 15 days. So it's not that I am building today, I'll test it after 6 months. What used to happen is that I have a design, we used to have a phase where, okay, 30 days or 90 days was for development, another 90 days is for testing. So see that gap where 90 days this tester is not doing something, and after 90 days this developer is not doing that something. But now this whole chain or this whole process is now embedded into those 10 or 15 days where we are passing it out in the same way, but it has happened more faster, more at a more pace, and with early adoption. Because if you're logging a bug, developer is immediately notified. Pehle, what we used to happen is that we are capturing those and then sharing it across back to the developer. That runs into various time and cost overrun, not meeting expectation, or inadequate or complete testing. Is what happens is that still in the testing phase, we are seeing the bug and it is not still as per the requirement or document shared earlier. So you are going back to the developer for fixing. So that time is lost. So because it was not done parallelly as you are developing, you are building, you are testing it. It is happening after one phase is completed, then other phase is getting started, and that's it invites failure. And that was the major reason where most of the projects in waterfall were not moving or moving up to the speed that was required by the customer or business. And as you it's rightly mentioned here that communication through used to happen documentation. So everything, every sign off used to happen, okay, this is done, let's move to next, okay, let's move to next. So that engagement of customer having and seeing the working software was not there. So that was the biggest challenge. And with agility, yes, there are changes that has happened. So that was, these are the traditional waterfall approach used to happen in previous days. Any questions, any doubt till now?
Excuse me, sir. Just a little quick. Yeah, sir. What exactly is meant by sign off at every stage?
Is it like you are getting a uh, approval from your business? Okay, we are good to move ahead. So what used to happen is if client has shared me a requirement, you have to go through that requirement. You need to capture those any gaps that you have, and then after that you used to take that project. Okay, now I have the sign off from the customer, I can build it now. So that is what the sign off resonates here. So you are also giving sign off at every phase, and you are also getting sign off from every phase from your customer or stakeholders. So if I have to start a project, customer shares with me a BRD or design document. I'll go through it, capture it, I raise my concern, I had a meeting, okay, Requirement is finalized, yes, finalized. Okay, let's move ahead. Then we move to next phase. Design we used to discuss. Okay, this is the design. This is how it's going to happen. So that portion was limited. Okay, now so that understanding is based on what we are talking today. So might be there case that somebody talks about scaling. Okay, this is now a VUCA world, which is very volatile, which is very fluid. There are things changing happening. There can be merger and acquisition. So that the system was not built to scale. So, but my design was limited to support 1,000 users. I sign it off. A company was doing good, they acquire somebody, now the user base is moving to 5,000. So that way your system is outdated. So, but I had given my sign off on 1,000 users. Any changes that I require will go another phase of requirement, another phase of development, and the same cycle will go. So that is where these sign offs used to come in. Right now, sign offs happen at a much smaller interval. You are involving your business stakeholders every 10 or 15 days or every 1 week based on what your sprint or iteration duration is, or what we call as iterative. Hope I
Okay,
answered.
sir. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so waterfall, as we seen in the picture, or what we see is that waterfall requires the perfect vision. And to get that perfect vision, you should have a right set of customer expectations and accurate estimation after those expectation has been shared. So this is the basically vision that is required when we are trying to build something on a waterfall model. Uh, so and the idea should be fully front up, that okay, this is what we decided, this is how it looks like. I mean, you have to be dead sure that this is our one project. And now we know that customer is very much fluid. He keeps on changing. Today if you show him something, maybe it's not required after 6 months. If you're trying to build right now, you want to build or build something that you want to showcase, okay, and I'll come up along in 6 months that this is my application. Do you think is it going to be very much successful in the market if you try to build something today and come out with that idea in the other 6 or 7 months? Maybe there will be hundred of same kind of application or same kind of work will be available in these 6 months. So that your complete idea is now getting diluted. So for waterfall to be precise, you need to know how the project looks like. Like you are building a bridge. So you know, okay, I have to connect these two ports or these two side of the road, and this is how it has to be built up. So that is where your vision is pretty clear. You know how it has to be done. But in software, the things were used to change very rapidly, very fast, and that is where that process was that this was going to this was letting most of cost overruns and failures into project deliveries. And how does agile expect vision shift? So this is a representation of how agile and how waterfall resonate. So we have a basic or rough idea about how we want to approach to a particular situation is. We started building with a sketch. We try to inspect and adapt. We try to change things because we are having a regular customer discussion at this phase, at this phase, at this phase, at this phase. So there might be few changes from where how we decided and how we move based on how things are coming up in various phases of life cycle. And that is what the course correction is happening, and that is where you are able to reduce your risk, because you are not seeing something which was drafted here and you directly see over here. You have this smaller iterative situations or smaller iterative areas where you are changing, you are adopting, and you are going through it. So what we call in agile or into is called a working document. So my requirement is also working document. I am refining those requirement with my business or with my product owner or somebody who is owning that project. So we'll go through all these terms as we move ahead in next in coming days. So your requirement gathering session is happening very frequently. You are clearing your doubt very frequently. You are able to make those changes, modification based on what you are discussing. You are showcasing your work every 5 days or every 10 days based on when your sprint review is. Your business is able to resonate what they think and what you are building pretty much is on the same line what they have discussed. And if there are any challenges, if there are any changes, whether challenges is from the teams who are building it up or in terms of supporting it up, you are able to capture those inputs in various refinement sessions or various, you have various ceremonies in place where you are combining your doubts, you are clearing those doubts. So that way you are able to see and you are able to mitigate the risk also. So you are not spreading your risk for 6 months. You are reducing your risk cycle to another 5 days or 10 days. So that way you are able to rightly mitigate, rightly place your challenges with your customer. In case if I have any challenge with resources, he has built me, he want to see something after 6 months. No, we are able to showcase him every 10 months. Okay, this is a challenge. We are not getting any infrastructure. Okay, and that might lead to a change in plan to my next sprint or next iteration. So that way the risk you are putting it upfront to the business or to the customer. So that way that course correction is happening as you are building and moving ahead. Okay, how it used to happen in earlier, if you see, it was a fixed waterfall kind of a project where you have time and cost out of control, your loss of focus is there, your quality is at risk, because we are building in various stages. Quality was one of the life cycle event in complete SDLC where you are just testing. But in Agile, this is all you are have these features. You have this. Here the feature was fixed. Here it is all variable. You can move around. The focus is on quality because customer is billing me to deliver a quality product. I mean, if you are using iPhone, if iPhone would have a lot of issues, will you be happy with it? We love our phones, we love our smartphones because they work smooth. They are like a perfect user experience. But consider that if those issues are there, the quality issues are there, it is hang. Nobody would have that brand value what these phones have right now, or Apple has right now, or maybe another OnePlus might have. So that quality is the core focus while implementing Agile or while working on a product or a project. Because uh, my customer is billing me for the quality product. Nobody wants today. Consider your example. If you are trying to uh, build a house, or you have somebody in your home who is you are working on some kind of a work, and he is continuously compromising on quality, will you be able to help it out? Will you get the desired result what you're looking forward to? No. So that is where Agile is pretty much firm, and the quality is inbuilt. What we call is as quality inbuilt when we are trying to deliver any of the projects using Agile. Uh, Quality was there earlier also, but that was happening after a certain period of time. Right now, I am in a session where all my team, my complete team is there, whether it has to be a QA, developer, or designer, or architect. We know what has to be built. Everybody has an idea, not one single point of contact who share those documents and pass it across. All are part of those refinement session. All are part of those doubt clearing session. So that way, quality is inbuilt from day one when you're trying to build it. You are trying to put across your focus into what projects you are building. So this is how the constraint were moved around in Agile to traditional waterfall methodology. You are able to
Excuse me,
manage
sir.
your, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I understood the quality part in agile methodology. We will have a better quality, but what about the cost? Because in agile, we are imagining something and delivering a final picture is something else. So apart from software industry, the other industries would need it, other raw materials or costing would be different. So how would we manage the cost? Could you more focus more on that?
Okay. Okay. So, see, in any of the industry, whether you do, if you are not engaging your customer on the right time, here, how the cost overruns used to happen in traditional waterfall was that I am building, and suppose that feature development has taken more of the time. So my quality team is already uh, uh, is sitting idle. So they are already waiting for something that has to be there. There was some kind of challenge into your development feature, or into your their server was not available, or something, any kind of issues that happen. So that way the complete life cycle into the down the line is hampered. Consider that now in Agile, where and you are meeting your customer in waterfall after a month, or 3 months, or maybe after 2 months. So you see that time period, you want to cover it out. In that way, quality gets compromised, and then the cost will happen because you might not be able to complete things in the past, or you will be able to deliver something which was not of quality. And ultimately, when you deliver it to the customer, it will have repercussions. There will be challenges, there will be issues. So you will be going back to fix it out. So that is another cost that you are getting added to it, because your costs are overrun. You are not delivering based on what was promised. So you are rebuilding the stuff. or you are doing maintenance stuff, which again is a cost overrun because he has not paid it upfront. He wants to make you build something. The same way in Agile, you are trying to interact with your customer on daily basis. You are trying to like I used to do a project where I used to meet with my vendors on daily basis. When I say daily basis, I was able to resonate what challenges I am seeing, what challenges the customer has or my vendor has. So that way we are able to rightly mitigate those risks. So when my risk is mitigated, I am talking about my cost also. So if these things are not happening, rather than discussing after 10 days, अरे यार ये तो हुआ नहीं, मैं तो गड़बड़ हो गई. So you are doing that in after 10 or 15 days. But right now, if you make a plan that I want to connect with my sales team, my HR team, or maybe my vendor on daily basis and see what are the challenges in various three partners who are associated on the project, you are able to rightly mitigate the risk and mitigate the cost associated with it. And that
Okay.
should be productive discussion, not that ki, okay, just have to happen. Agar you are facing any risk, you have to put it across on the table. Okay, we are doing this, there are challenges that may result in cost overruns. If that is the cost overrun, then you have that people sitting together and discussing how we are going to mitigate it, how we can change those adoption, where we are able to minimize that cost overruns in place. But here, you already have promise in Waterfall, we already promise it, and now we are trying to push it through the door. And when it got pushed through the door, your quality is not rightly, or the cost has already overrun because you will be doing some maintenance when things are not getting rightly fixed. So that way, that early discussion, early connect with your vendors, partners, association, or other members part of the project, you are able to rightly mitigate that cost and quality risk also.
Okay. Thank you, sir.